I'm Brady Bacon, and this is The Skinny.
From the Fatheads Eyewear Studios in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny. Brought to you by Toyota, Rhino Classifieds, General Tire, and Dream Giveaway. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by General Tire. It's more than just a slogan. Anywhere is possible with General Tire. General Tire's Grabber X3 mud terrain tire offers aggressive styling and is engineered for durability with innovative performance features that are ready to carry you through extreme mud, dirt, and rock-covered terrain. For extreme traction that's ready for anything and rugged styling to match, look no further than the Grabber X3. Make your anywhere possible by visiting GeneralTire.com today. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Skinny here once again. We've got an exciting show coming your way. The Macho Man is in the house. We are talking about sprint car greatness and sitting alongside a brand new face to the show, but by far not a brand new face, nor a brand new face in the broadcasting industry. Michael Young, they call him the track dude. Been around for a long, long time as a broadcaster, my friend. Welcome to the show.
It's exciting to be here. Going to be a lot of fun filling in for Rico this show, and looking forward to talking with Brady. It's just exciting to have him here with us today. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, and let's expand on that a little bit. You're actually a full-timer here now. You're going to be a big part of this show, maybe not always on, although you're always welcome on, of course, but behind the scenes as producer, editor, you and Carl will be working your magic together, so we look forward to your insights, if you will.
Looking forward to being a part of this great program and hopefully having a long stint with you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it for sure, and we'll kick things off this weekend. Actually, we've got a nice big event coming up called the Rev at the Speedway, which you'll be an important part of course, and your relationships with the IndyCar drivers. We're certainly excited about that.
Yeah, it's been a long haul with the IndyCar folks, and it's my first Rev, so looking forward to that. I actually have to go out and buy some nice clothes because I don't own any good clothing.
I'm with you too. You want to go to Walmart together?
Well, yes, that's a great. Let's go to Walmart and get a suit. That's a wonderful plan. Wonderful.
I mean, a moment ago you said you had no pants on, so let's at least get a shirt.
Okay,
you know,
fair enough. Maybe a tie as well. Okay.
Sitting alongside me is a third-generation Brady Bacon, three-time USAC sprint car champ. He is a badass no matter what he's behind the wheel of. They call him the Macho Man. But I want to kick things off, and Carl, do you have that picture that I sent you?
Sure do.
I want to ask you, tell me about this. Are we working on some fourth-generation racers?
Yeah, we kind of started asking about go-karts and stuff. So I got on Facebook Marketplace and found one, the yellow one I was going to go buy, and then he just so happened to have the blue one sitting there too, so I wound up taking them both home at the same time.
So 3 children, Levaney, is that?
Levaney,
Lowry, and Lindley.
correct.
2 girls and a boy.
Yeah.
And we're going racing.
We're just playing right now, so I'm going to try to delay the actual racing as long as I can.
So what are the ages?
6, 4, and 2.
You started when you were, what, 5?
Yeah.
So we're right in the wheelhouse here.
Yeah, but for those first few years, a lot of headaches for Dad. So I didn't really feel like, they don't really start getting it until maybe like 7 or 8. So obviously make a lot of friends. I'm still got some of my best friends or people that I raced with when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. But we're around. We got a racing community of our own at all the USAC races, and they have a lot of friends there and stuff too. So we got that part covered. But yeah, try to delay the racing part as long as I can. He says I don't want to race. I don't want to get hurt. I'm like, well, this go-kart's the same thing. He's like, yeah, but I have a helmet on. I'm like, well, you're going to have a helmet on when you race, too.
That's right. Do you remember the first time that you got into a kart? Does that memory stick out to you?
No, I remember kind of making some laps in parking lots and stuff like that. But
did you have the bug right away? Was it something that you said, man, I love this?
Yeah, I mean, my dad raced. We go to the races all the time, and just kind of natural thing to do. We used to, that was our weekends. I'd race, I think Friday night we would race, micros, and then my dad would race Saturday night at Tulsa Speedway, and then Sunday, when I was still racing quarter midgets, we'd go and race quarter midgets on Sunday. So that was pretty much what filled our weekends for my whole life.
So you've been down the path. I'm really curious what your thoughts are here. When you start somebody off at the age of 5, I think the potential for burnout with that person goes way, way up. By the time they get into their teens, maybe they're just smoked with it versus starting maybe when they're 10 or 12. And I didn't do it by design. It just worked out this way. But I was around racing the entire time, so my son inherently was around racing. But I never thought about putting him in a car, maybe just because I couldn't afford it at the time. But at some point, he decided he wanted a go-kart. He wanted to go in a go-kart shop. So we went in there and he saw it, fell in love with it, wanted to go go-kart racing, and ended up buying one. And the rest is history here, near 20 years later. But he was 13 years old at the time, and he was hungry. He wanted to go racing versus, somebody starting off so young.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was 5 years old, I was more worried about getting to my grandma's car and sitting in the air conditioning. They'd have to come find me to, get in the car, which obviously I enjoyed racing. But there was a couple times growing up where my dad was like, yeah, if this is all you got, we're probably going to do something else for a while, and kind of took steps back and tried, going to the lake. And then I decided, okay, that was fun, but I would rather be racing. And then that's kind of when the switch gets
clearly
flipped.
worked out for you. Your mindset, obviously, you're an exceptional driver, and you were drawn to it. I just think, generally speaking, it's a crapshoot to start a kid off at 5, 6, 7 years old and thinking they're going to run all the way through. I'm going to give him a good early head start, get him the best equipment. He'll have the most experience by the time he's 15 years old. He'll have 10 years of experience to be ready to race with anybody. But somewhere in the middle of that, the kid's like, I'm just over it, man. I just want a weekend off,
Yeah, and a lot of professional drivers, they can't race with their kids when they're younger, so they do wind up. I mean, Sheldon didn't start. I think he just raced a sprint car. He raced motorcycles and things like that. Sheldon Hodenshield when he was growing up, but I think the first car he raced was a sprint car. And he turned out pretty good. And, some others, the McCarls, I remember they didn't start racing until micros when they were, probably 13, 14 years old. So you have a lot of advantages having, we're obviously in the industry. So we'll have probably a lot of advantages if he does race, because we kind of up on what's fast
for sure.
and what's not. So that's probably more important. Sometimes kids starting out young, the dads are learning what they're supposed
clueless.
To do as much as
they're clueless.
As anybody else. Yeah.
I was clueless. I mean, I knew
Here's
people.
my wallet. Here, take that.
Yeah, I mean, I knew people, which really helped me out, but I was exactly like you. I was thinking about, a really good friend of ours, and his son actually was really good, but his dad was an accountant, knew nothing about racing, and they just came to the racetrack together to run karts at Newcastle, and he ripped. I mean, he did a good job, but how many of those parents just never get, some people just aren't mechanically inclined, how do they ever get there,
Yeah, and I mean, now it's kind of, the landscape's changing. You can pay, people to take care of your stuff and, kind of just show up and race, but that just costs more money and makes it a little harder for the guy trying to do it himself. But I was fortunate. My dad's, he built one of my quarter midgets from scratch. So a lot of, we had a lot of advantage as far as him knowing what to do to make stuff go fast.
But that's a blueprint now, to get the kids in the cars as early as they can. You were in the car at 5, but looking back on it and looking at how you're going to deal with your kids in racing, is that a good thing, bad thing to you to have somebody start out that early, as Ken had said? Is it a good thing, bad thing? Because that looks like the norm anymore.
Yeah, I just think it depends on your situation. If the kid's loving it, we have some friends from Winchester that race at Newcastle. I think he's 6 years old, and he loves it. If they're motivated and they want to do it, then that's, you got to kind of just facilitate what they want to do. But if it can turn into baseball dads, you're on the traveling team and you're going everywhere, and the kid's like, I kind of want to go to my friend's birthday party this weekend instead of go race in Tennessee or whatever. So I think it just depends on the situation. Like I said, I'm going to try to push it back as far as I can. But I think, around 8, 9 years old is kind of when the competitiveness, they kind of figure out what's actually going on and how to win, and not just, I won or I didn't. They start figuring out why I won or why I didn't, or, what can we do better or worse to change the results.
So it is that young, 8 or 9. Like I said, I mean, my only experience is starting off with my son, and he was like 13. I was surprised. It took about a year, I would say, a year and a half. I remember, we were around Connor Daly and Derek, and I would listen to Derek and the questions. I would bounce stuff off of Derek, and he would say, I ask the same questions every single time he gets out of the car. And I want him to process that. He said, and they can't grasp the entire track when they're this young. He said, so I have him focus on one turn. Tell me what the car is doing, entry, middle, and exit, in this turn. And he said, I just want him to retain that because it's so difficult to do. So I just started following that protocol. But I remember when the light bulb went off, I mean, it happened so quickly that I didn't even trust him. I didn't believe the information he was giving me. Like he would say, the back's driving the front. And I'd be like, what? You really feel that? Or he said, he would say it's lifting up the inside tire, but it's setting it back down too quick. And it happened. I'm telling you, it happened in a span of weeks where all of a sudden it just made sense to him. And it happened so fast. I was like, there's just no way he knows all this stuff that's going on. It's like, he's just saying this to be cool, and act like he knows. But I mean, he knew it just happened. So it was pretty cool to watch him learn and go through that process.
Yeah. And that your kind of race IQ varies. There's people that race like they're 30 when they're 14, and there's people that are 30 that race like they're 14. So it's just like anything else. Some people are good at math. Some people are good at racing and they just get it. Kyle Larson was 14 and just could race. And it's not just going around the track fast. It's looking ahead, seeing what's going to happen, and knowing what you can do to change stuff. And, when like the lower powered cars, we only have 2 turns to worry about. So, it's a little easier than the road course stuff. But when they're in lower power cars, they just hold it wide open and go around in circles. So if he decides he kind of wants to start earlier than I would like, I think I would kind of lean towards the road course stuff because at least they have to slow down sometimes. When you're just holding it wide open, like even like junior sprints on like dirt ovals is kind of the introductory class for like the micro division. The tracks are made for more powerful cars, so it's kind of like Daytona. They do learn about momentum and how to not scrub speed, but then when they get to the car that they have to lift in, I think it takes them a while to adjust. So there's a lot of ways to do it, and every kid's different, and you see some kids get it right away, and even people in sprint cars and stuff, guys like CJ Leary, it took him several years to turn into a contender every night, and now he's one of the 5 guys that you have to deal with every single night. So some people it's right away, some people it takes them a while, some people are better in different cars, some people aren't very good in a midget, good in a sprint car. So
no right or wrong, it just comes together, right?
Yeah.
What I think is interesting about you is your education was so important, and you were the valedictorian of your class, that sometimes those things don't go hand in hand, that drivers are also worried about their education and completing their education. Same with your kids, I would imagine what you would pass down to them, that school is very important. Yeah,
definitely. Kindergarten, this was our first year with school and missing school, racing and stuff. This is what we do for a living. So we've had to kind of navigate that and change our schedule a little bit. Luckily, the USAC schedule caters to, we're a little closer to home than maybe the Outlaws or All-Stars or stuff like that. So we're still trying to just navigate that. And, Levany doesn't really have any interest in racing, but she likes to, dance class. And this was our first mini 4-H, and she's all about that. So it took a lot of strength to not come home with an animal after a week. But we were out there for 3, 4, 5 hours every day. They wanted to go out and just run around, and which is great. It's better than sitting at home.
I grew up in Clearwater, Florida, and I was just never around any of the 4-H stuff. And of course, you move here to the Midwest, and it's like, oh my God, it's like everybody's entire world. And when they have those conventions and stuff here in Indy, I mean, it just blows up. It's millions of people is what it feels like, anyways. But I find it funny that I was so secluded from the whole thing. And I think, you get people probably in New York or people on the West Coast, they just don't get it. get how big that 4-H thing is, but if she wants to do that, that can suck up some time.
Yeah, it's like the whole community's there, so it's really cool, and they have friends. She's more interested in, it's about friends and
Social
running
side of
around.
it,
Yeah,
sure.
which is important.
Sure.
More than the actual, they don't actually judge the mini stuff, but they kind of walk them through the process. This is kind of how you would show this rabbit. Well, luckily we got to borrow one. We didn't actually have to bring one, but and she showed a pig, and the Abrus were really into.
Oh, really?
It's huge. He's got a state of the art
Winery and pigs.
Yeah.
No
swine
kidding.
and wine.
Swine and wine.
Yeah,
That's
but,
great.
I sent a picture to Rico, and he goes, "Don't send that to my dad. He'll have you'll have a barn out there, and he'll have all this stuff and be flying there to
The
shows
rabbits will be
everywhere."
making rabbits.
Oh, yeah.
So
So we have this lovely lady sitting over here. We're talking about your kids the entire time, as it turns out so far. So, pronounce her name for us.
Siana.
So, I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, you're in school, you always go alphabetically, right? So, but she's screwed either way it goes. First name or last name, they both start with an X. So she's at the end of the line.
Yeah. Her CC. That's the easiest way for everyone to remember. So.
I love it. I mean, I just look at the spelling of it. It's so cool.
Yeah, she's accustomed to that getting wrong. She actually got a speeding ticket recently, and she couldn't. We trying to pay it online. Well, there's a space in her name. Well, they didn't put a space when they entered it in the computer, so we couldn't find the ticket to pay it, and so that was a little bit of a problem. We got it sorted out, I think, but yeah, it's.
So, what does Mom think about the kids eventually going racing?
I think we're just on the same page. If they want to do it, it's great. And the kids like going to the races right now. I'm sure there's be times when they don't like it because they would rather be doing something else. But
I mean, the moms weigh in heavy in this subject. A lot of times they might be okay with, just bobbing and weaving and going with the flow. But when it comes to the kids, and I think a perfect example would be Rob Klepper, and you get Nikki, Nikki Wilkie, if you will, Nikki Wilkie Klepper, and she's grown up at the highest levels, and she's adamant about, no way, they're not getting in a race car. It's not going to happen. It's like, are you kidding me? I mean, what family do you come from? How can you say that?
Yeah, and she did not grow up in a racing family. But obviously she's been around it for, years and years now. But it's a different level of commitment to go racing, and obviously it's expensive, and it's just a little bit different than some other sports. But there's people that spend tons of money on baseball or basketball, going to camps and stuff. So it's just kind of what you do. The most important part, I think when they're young is that they enjoy it and they're making friends, having experiences and things like that. So my kids I don't know how many states my oldest daughter's been in. She was born in Arizona the day after I won a championship. So they've got to experience a lot more than a lot of kids. But to do that, they have to spend a lot of time riding in the motorhome too.
Right.
What's the ultimate goal for you? Are you where you want to be right now? Obviously, you've started the promotion end of things. Growing as a driver, obviously, you've done darn near everything you can do. Where do you want to be 5 years from now?
I'm pretty happy with where we're at. We've put a really good team of people and sponsors, supporters together. The business side I've gotten better at through my career. There's things you take for granted when you're younger and you're just trying to get race to race. And as you get older, you start, thinking ahead and the bigger picture, and even just 6 months ahead. I know I need to have this equipment coming now to beat the rush, and a lot better at taking care of my sponsors probably than I was when I was probably a little more arrogant, younger. But I'm happy with what we're doing. We're just going to try to keep adding, kind of build a legacy, I guess. And every time I try to do something different than non-wing sprint cars, I said it's like a rubber band. The harder I pull away, the harder it pulls back. It just kind of seems to be what works. It works for Rico. It works for other supporters that we have, and it just we're just going to try to keep fine tuning what we got and making it better and better. And then I'm trying to think about way down the road doing some promotion stuff here and there to try to kind of figure that out. So when it does come time for me to stop racing, we have other options. So.
What's the toughest part for you? I know as these young kids come up in racing now, social media, they've become their own promoter. Basically, they promote themselves constantly through the social media outlets. You were kind of in the tail end of the beginning of all of that. Is that one of your forays? Do you find that difficult to be a self-promoter like that and promote the things that you do, not only on track but off track as well?
Yeah, I'm not as good as some. I just don't like to be on my phone all the time, putting that stuff out there. Even just like me and her, she likes to take pictures all the time, and I'm like, can we just do it? Yeah. But then a year later, you're like, oh, I'm kind of glad I have that picture to look at. But I'm more of a doer, just do it now, and I don't. And then I probably she makes me be a lot better, and she handles a lot of our promotion stuff and social media, and she's way better at it than I am, and she'll make me do stuff that I should be doing that I don't sometimes. But it's tough when you're thinking about your car, and on race day I don't do a whole lot, just try to focus on what I'm doing. But some people, their social media is more important than their results, and they promote themselves that way, and they make it, and they build a successful formula that way. That's not really how I do it. I'm more focused on, a little more old school and work on my car and stuff like that. So yeah, when I started, social media was, I just got a Facebook. I had already started racing midgets before I even had a Facebook, probably.
Yeah, we have a couple of sponsors, and it's mandated now in the contract. We have to do a certain amount. Yeah, that's most of and it is good for the sponsors. I mean, a lot of people see that stuff. I think sometimes if you do too much, it just kind of gets lost as noise. But if you do it right, I think I'd like to think we do a good job of taking care of our sponsors on there and things like that, and incorporating it into everyday life too. People they don't like to just see the, here's my fat heads, right. Just, you can tell it's not organic. So we try to keep people up to date with what we're actually doing. We went to Montana and Wyoming, and my wife posted some great pictures and stuff on that. People are interested in the actual life more than the stage stuff sometimes. So got to mix it in.
Do you worry about the privacy end of things, especially with the kids? Is that, you see a lot of drivers, you see their family, you see them growing up. But Ryan Hunter-Ray comes to mind. You see his kids always with him at the racetrack. Is that something you'd like to keep at the side?
I don't think we're quite to that level where it has become a problem. When you get to NASCAR, then it's, you got people taking pictures all the time. And our kids, sometimes they're like, someone will come up, hey, Lowry, how's it doing? And then they'll leave, and he goes, how does he know my name? So there's that. But short track dirt racing people are great people in general, and it's a great community. So it hasn't really been a problem till now. And obviously we keep things to ourselves, and, just have our family and friends included on some of the stuff that we have. And it's more Ciciana's job to balance that, and I just try not to worry about it.
We're going to take a quick break here. We have Brady Bacon, the Macho Man, in the house with us on The Skinny. Stay with us. We'll be right back. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Rhino Classifieds. Tired of all those ads and random stuff that shows up when you're looking to buy or sell your car parts? Rhino Classifieds was created just for you. Welcome to a streamlined buying and selling app created by racers for racers and race fans. Modified cars, classic cars, race cars, that special big block you need, the trailer to move your baby around the country in. We got you at rhino.co. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Toyota. Welcome back to The Skinny. We have Brady Bacon in the house. Michael Young has joined us here in place of Rico. The chair was wondering, where's my partner? I hardly feel anybody here. We're beat up on Rico a little bit since he isn't here to defend himself.
It's a big chair. It's a very large chair.
I'm kind of glad Rico's not here. He probably knows some,
dirt on you?
More dirt than we've been together for a long time. So we've done some. It gets kind of crazy sometimes when we're not when I'm not racing and we're together, it can get.
Oh, yeah.
He likes to put the hammer down.
He does like to put the hammer down. Not afraid to do so back to back either. How'd you get the name Macho Man?
I get that question a lot, and it actually is just kind of a coincidence. I grew up, I was a wrestling fan, watching. I used to go to my grandma's house, and she'd take me to the video store, VHS, and I'd go and get old wrestling tapes and watch them when I was younger, back when it was good, and Randy Savage, obviously his promos and stuff. And just one night, I don't know if you've probably heard of the Frolic at the sprint car races, Indiana Sprint Week, just a group of guys. Everyone kind of hangs out afterwards, and a lot of the drivers go. And for some reason, I was doing a Macho Man impression, and then people would ask me to do it again. And then one of them has a Class C with a bunk, and whoever would go to sleep first in there on the couch, I would get up and do an elbow drop on him. And then it was just kind of a joke. And then an announcer called me that kind of as a joke one time, and then I kind of went back, and when I won, I did the flex, Macho Man flex that everyone expects now, and then it just kind of stuck. So I've had other nicknames throughout my career, but that one's the one that stuck, and now it just the kids like it. They say the Macho Man, and it just works. Sometimes that's how things go.
Super cool. I've often wondered,
I didn't know, but so obviously you need to do the impression now. I mean, we're here. You need to do it because I haven't seen it. I have to see how good it is.
The impression takes some fuel from...
Okay,
from a win.
Well, it takes some liquid courage to do it.
I don't know. I saw you get out after the BC39, and you did a pretty good one.
Yeah, well, the flex I do when I win, but the impression, that's a whole nother thing. Gotcha. But I think there's some videos floating around on YouTube. You can check it out. I've done some other impressions, Ward Burton, and some other ones throughout the years. A long time ago. I haven't done any, quite some time.
It's funny. I was looking through YouTube, and there was a video of a young boy, maybe 6 years old, maybe 7 years old, that interviewed you. Do you find, as you get older, that you become an idol to some of these young kids, that they look up to you? I thought it was so interesting that he was asking you questions, and he was just so enamored with you as a driver. But being a youngster and taking that type of interest, I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being that kid, and going and looking at Steve Kinser's car, and he was my, it was either Steve or Sammy, and I was a Steve Kinser fan. So I remember being that guy, and I remember when they would roll into town. Wow, the trucks and the trailers, and it was so big when the Outlaws came to town. And that's kind of when I was growing up, I wanted to race swing sprint cars because that's all we had in Oklahoma. And then it just happened that the midget stuff started coming, and we did that and found success non-wing, which we've had a lot of success wing as well, but that wasn't really on the radar growing up. But now seeing people, kids paint their car like my car, that's pretty cool, and try to obviously take care of the kids as much as we can. We try to go sign autographs and stuff during the races and have them meet you face to face. But I think the name, the Macho Man, kids can grab onto that, and Brady Bacon. No kid ever calls me Brady. It's Brady Bacon. Yeah. They say the whole name for some reason. I don't know why, but
it rolls off the tongue. It actually really does. It's a great name for sure. So 3 championships, 2014, 16, and reigning champ 2020, coming out of that crazy pandemic year, and currently leading in USAC National Sprint Car points as well. The question is, 2014 to 2020, talk to me about the difference of winning the championship. You win the first one, and then you win the third one. Is it not as shiny when you win the third one?
The third one's probably the most special to me so far, because the first 2, Hoffman's took care of all the equipment and everything at their shop in Cincinnati, and I just basically showed up like a helmet bag racer and raced. Obviously, I had some input in, our program and what cars we had and, setups and stuff. Worked with Rob Hoffman on that. But the third one, we take care of all the cars at my shop now. So I run the team and everything. So a little more pride goes into it. And obviously still have a great relationship with Hoffman's, and it's kind of cooperative effort, but probably a little sweeter when I had a little more to do with the success.
What is the operation? You have a shop in Ohio, correct?
Union City, Ohio. It's like a couple blocks into Ohio.
Okay.
I live in Winchester, Indiana. and then about 15 minutes from there is.
You were excited about the Silver Crown race. Did you go to it?
I promoted that race.
Oh, you promoted it. Okay.
Yeah.
I did read somewhere where you were promoting races where it said, hopefully we'll get a chance to promote a couple of races. I'm like, am I reading that right? So you're a promoter.
Yeah, we do a midget race, the T-Town Midget Showdown at Port City in the springtime. And this was our second year for that. And I think the winner this year wound up with, I think, like $8,500. So big for a midget race. And then we did our first race there at Winchester this year, the Rich Vogler Classic. And everyone seemed to have a really good time. Our original date got rained out, and we rescheduled kind of the beginning of sprint week, and it worked out really well. So we'll kind of talk to USAC and stuff, and I think that'll probably be, if we do it again, that'll kind of be the date we shoot for. But it's a different, there's a lot of work that goes into promoting an event to do it the way that we want to do it.
Toughest part about it is what?
Just organizing everything. The dirt on a dirt track, I'm really hard on myself. I want the track to be as good as possible. This year, I think we kind of missed it, and the race wasn't as good. But the first year we had it, the race was like unbelievable, like 4 wide for the lead on an 8-mile track. So kind of set the bar a little high. And anytime that it's not perfect, I am a little disappointed. But pavement, you don't have to worry about that. So that was a little bit easier not to have to worry about preparing the track and stuff like that. So Shane Stewart actually owns the track we do it in Oklahoma, Port City. He just bought it this year. So he was learning the track too, and so it was a little kind of learning on both of our parts, but he's had all year, and he's been working really hard. I talk to him often, just kind of see how things are going. So I think next year we'll hopefully hit it perfect again.
Do you follow all forms of motorsports? Do you not follow motorsports outside of what you do? What do you watch when you have some spare time? What little you probably have.
We keep up with sprint cars, obviously, the Outlaws, All Stars, and if we're off and they're racing somewhere, I usually watch it or have it on my phone at least, kind of to just keep an eye on what's going on. I'm not going to watch every heat race and qualifying and all that, but I enjoy watching NASCAR now that Kyle's back and in a good car, and Bell and Stenhouse has been running good. That adds a lot. Honestly, when Kyle was out, I didn't watch it. So, and now that they're, kind of a new crop of people coming up, it's interesting to see. And
it's amazing how one driver can affect our brains to watch a series like that. I was the same way with Dale Sr. When Dale died, I probably didn't watch for a couple of years. I mean, he was just my guy. He was my favorite guy at the time. It's like so many people. And then started kind of rooting for Stewart, and Stewart did some crazy stuff too. From time to time, I'd be like, "Man, are you kidding me?" But just one person that you really have this affection for, that you want to see do well, will draw you to watch that race. It only takes one, and like you say, I mean, I think we're all involved now with Kyle and Bell and Stenhouse, some of the short track guys that have made their way up in there, and we want to see how they're
Chase
doing.
Elliott's running midgets, going to be at the BC 39, and also another thing that contributes to it, the broadcast content quality has gone up immensely. Yeah. It's not as kind of cheesy as it used to be. They actually have informative people. I loved Jeff Gordon and Clint Boyer working together, and then Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Burton have a lot of knowledge. It's a lot better as far as someone who's a little more in the know. They kind of touch on some of the details that some people might not understand, but they also cover it simply for people that kind of just need the introductory stuff. But I think that helps a lot. I think that's come a long way in the last 3 or 4 years. Agreed.
Do you like stage racing? Is that something that appeals to you as far as coming from your background when NASCAR went to that format? Do you like those stages?
Yeah, I like it. It does make it, more exciting, and those points matter, at the end, and you can tell that it matters. So I think it adds a little bit. I think that NASCAR had to make some changes, and our form of racing, short track racing, is probably growing in popularity when theirs was kind of faltering, and I think they kind of took some. You got to look at other people's playbooks sometimes, and if yours isn't working, you got to make some changes. So I think it chops it up. I think the shorter race weekends, obviously the teams love it. Maybe if they don't get to practice and they're not good, they don't like it, but we don't need to be there for 4 days and have a happy hour and a practice, and I think condensing it down makes it a little more feasible. I liked last year when they did races on Tuesday night or Wednesday night. I like that. So it's interesting to see kind of how things are changing, and obviously getting to talk. I talked to Kyle some and seeing his thoughts on some things, and he probably thinks about it a lot less than some. He just gets in and drives, so that's kind of his style.
He's such a natural. My God.
Yeah,
I mean,
but yeah, I think the racing's been a little more entertaining than it has been in the past. So that's what I watch. But obviously, sprint cars, have personal relationships and friendships with people, and you keep track of that. But other forms, like I really, unless it's the Indianapolis 500, I hate to say it, I'm not very good at keeping up with.
well, you're so busy with the racing.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
races
race
a year.
almost
It's not
100
like you're
races a
playing
year.
golf, you know. So
Yeah, and usually when they're racing, we're either racing or on the road, so it's a little harder to keep up with it.
Let's pause for a moment here to take a quick break. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Dream Giveaway. Dream Giveaway has been giving away high-end American muscle cars to raise money for charity since 2007. Dream Giveaway is known for giving away classic and new muscle and paying the federal taxes so the winners don't have to. For $25, you can jump in the game, and part of that goes to charity. You'll have a chance at winning some of the coolest cars on the planet. Check it out at dreamgiveaway.com. You've won so many big races. I mean, really not, as Michael said in the beginning of the show, really not much you haven't accomplished inside of a sprint car. How important, is there one race that you really would like to add to the list? Silver Crown, Midget,
The
sprint
Chili
car?
Bowl.
I knew, that's where I was
Yeah,
going.
I'm from,
And so
from Broken
close in
Arrow,
2019. I mean, you had a great opportunity.
Yeah, and I'm from right down the road. I've
Yeah,
been going
Broken
there
Arrow
since I
for
was
sure.
a kid, so that one's important. Obviously, I wish it paid a little bit better, but as sentimentally, that's probably one that I'd
Well,
really.
they could pay nothing. You could pay them, and they think they'd get the same crowd.
Yeah.
The lure of that one.
I really need to win a USAC sprint car race at Kokomo too. I've finished second 7 times in USAC sprint cars at Kokomo, so that one seems to be a little monkey on my back, just kind of bothering me. I need to win there.
When you see Kyle Larson, who spends most of his time obviously running Cup, and then show up in a sprint car or a midget and accomplish what he accomplishes, I mean, speaking of the Chili Bowl, does it make you scratch your head a little bit?
I mean, I've seen him. I remember there's a picture when he took a picture with me at the Chili Bowl when I was like 16 and he was like 12 or 13. But I've watched him and raced with him through his whole career, and he's just got a natural ability to do it. So it doesn't really surprise me anymore, stuff that he's able to do.
Did you know it right away when you raced against him that, wow, this kid's something special?
Yeah.
Really?
For quite some time, yeah. Even, obviously he wasn't as good when he was 15, 16. Now he's getting better and better all the time, so even more dangerous. I'm just glad he got back in Cup so we don't have to deal with him.
Go
as
away,
often.
man. Just talk to me about 2021, the Chili Bowl there too, because it was a kind of a special situation. You hooked back up with Kelly Hink, and that relationship goes much deeper. I think 2016 maybe you were with him, but that relationship goes way back.
Yeah, my dad raced with the Hink family like in the late 80s, early 90s, and in micros and stuff, and they're pretty influential in the micro racing at Sweet Springs. They have a really nice micro track there that I grew up racing at. And then I was just running the shootout. I had called Sawyer Chassis to say, I kind of want to run this year. I don't remember what year it was. It was several years ago. And so they hooked me up with Kelly to drive the car. I think I actually slid somebody out of the seat at the time. And then we won the shootout, which is an important race to me.
4
racing.
drillers, right? Don't you have 4?
Yeah,
from the shootout.
So always kind of a cool race that I like to go do. And then ever since then, we just kind of would race here and there and just kind of have one car that was mine that I liked that kind of just sits there ready whenever, And then in 2020, when there was no racing going on, there were some micro races in Oklahoma at the track that we were promoting at. And he's like, yeah, take it down there, race it. And then he had a midget and we raced it some, and he kind of wanted to invest a little bit more in that program, and so we kind of took it in our shop, and I built a Triple X midget, kind of the way I wanted to do it, because I hadn't really got to do that in quite some time in midget racing. I kind of bounced around, and it's hard to really get a rhythm going and a lot of success. So we've ran a handful of times. We were really good at the Chili Bowl, and had a good run there, and then until I crashed. But and then we've ran really good with USAC this year and had a motor problem in midget week. But we got that all freshened up and we're ready for the BC 39.
I don't know what the accident rate is in what you do. Obviously, there you've got guys sliding, but last time you raced in Terre Haute, we have a photo of you flipping, and you did a barrel roll. I think you went over twice, and the air you got before you went up and out of the track. What in the world? And we have it on our video monitor, and we thank Chad Warner for that photo. What in the world is going through your mind when you're up that high in the air?
Close your eyes for one, because if you don't, I still got like a bloodshot eye, and one of my eyes went all red. But if you don't close your eyes, they'll both be really red and can actually cause damage because of the G-forces when you flip. So
Right.
always close your eyes and then just hang on.
Does it go silent? What?
Yeah, it's pretty silent when you're up in the air. Yeah,
That's unbelievable
yeah,
to me.
but you're really not thinking. It's just kind of.
Do you tense up and hang on?
Yeah,
Do
you I would assume you don't really think about what you're doing, but
Right.
yeah, tense up, and sometimes you'll bend your steering wheel, or so. I usually let go because I grew up racing micros and they're manual steering.
Right.
So if you hit something, it'll
Break fingers or
yeah
wrist or
your
yeah.
thumb. So
and then after that, you come back and finish third.
yeah, that one. I mean, I've crashed much less spectacularly, and it hurt a lot worse. So got pretty fortunate that when it landed on the tail tank and then kind of kept going and absorbed some of the impact. But yeah, we were a little sore for a couple days after that, but wasn't terrible. I was very fortunate. A lot of good safety equipment that kept me pretty much contained in there.
Tough on the wives to watch a moment like that.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. My parents were there and some family friends, so that was probably tougher for them. But I mean, I knew I landed and I was fine. Actually, my steering, the shaft broke and I couldn't get the steering wheel off. We had to actually unbolt
Oh,
the
so
steering
you
wheel.
couldn't
So
get
that
out
was
of the
probably
car.
the scariest part. If there would have been a fire or something,
You couldn't get out. Yeah.
I probably could have got out, but it would have been. I would have had to have been
A good bit
squeezing,
longer. Yeah.
squeezing out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I already knew my guys would be getting the backup car down, and when I got back, they already had it pretty much.
I'm sitting there. I can't get out of the car. Steering
yeah.
shaft's broken. I'm thinking, I bet the guys are getting the spare car down.
Yeah, it took. We were like laying on the chain link fence down there, so it took a little bit to get the car picked up and all that. But yeah, I was fortunate, and now we have a T-shirt. Sell a lot of T-shirts with that
There you
picture
go.
on
Boom.
it.
There you go.
Try to make lemonade out of the lemon
There you go.
sometimes.
You mentioned your father, and I mentioned at the top of the show, third-generation driver, your grandfather Ted and your father Leon, both active racers, and your father very successful at the time. Is he still active?
No, I think the last time he raced was probably 2009. Yeah, and I
active with your team at all?
not really. He likes to enjoy his time at the races
Yeah,
now
good for
instead
him.
of working. But I had a really good opportunity. I think it was in 2010 that he got to come on the road with me for about 6 months. So that was really awesome to be able to race full time with my dad there. Obviously, growing up, we raced with each other and against each other. But race sprint cars at a high level, ASCS national with my dad there helped expedite the learning process.
Did he enjoy getting back out on the road with you? Not, I would imagine being with you, but did he miss the being on the road aspect of the racing?
Well, he had that at that time, 2009, or 2010, he was kind of pretty regularly on the road still, kind of going to a lot of races. And that schedule is closer to Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas. So he could come a lot more. But now it's he just kind of comes and he kind of knows everything's taken care of and he just enjoys
The sense of
watching.
accomplishment for a father, and I know this from experience, is I was able to help my son get up to a certain level, and then other people started getting involved, and he advanced a little bit more, but I was still active in it. And now, whenever we go, I have, aside from spotting for him, I have absolutely nothing to do with the car or running the team. He's with people that, are much better than I will ever be. And just having that sense of confidence, knowing that he's good at what he does and he's with a really good team, to sit back, as you said, your father just wants to enjoy. But I promise you, his sense of accomplishment is he sits back knowing, like, my son's a straight-up badass. He's a great driver, does a great job with his team, everything's sorted. I mean, I promise you, he's enjoying it as much as any time that he raced.
Yeah, and you know, so there are some times when I, especially like midgets and micros, if I'm racing those, that I'll be like, "Yeah, it's kind of doing this. What do you think?" And so it's kind of nice to have someone that.
Yeah, the vision is still there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he still sees everything.
Yeah, and he doesn't really say much unless I ask for something, and sometimes he'll just say, "I don't know, I don't worry about that anymore." But
Sometimes I approach it in a way different manner now. If I see something that I think is off or odd, I'll go to him and say, "So when you were going through this turn, what was going on there?" I won't say, "It looked to me like you were making a mistake." I don't go that far, you know. I was like, something just looked off there, and then he'll know exactly what I'm talking about 9 times out of 10, and we'll discuss it. But yeah, it's pretty cool that you have that relationship coming through. Were you ever part of it when your grandfather was racing?
no, I never saw my grandfather race, and then he comes to a lot of races too, and
That's
I have
awesome.
people all the time. Is your grandpa coming? How's your grandpa doing? So that's kind of cool. Racing community. He meets you meet all kinds of people, and it's just great to be involved with something like that.
Super, super cool. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time. We know you're busy. In fact, going to race at the action track tonight, correct?
Yeah, first time back since the famous picture that you showed there. So back to the scene of the crime.
You created it. Oh, before you take off, or before we close this show, we want to thank Mark Allen. Mark Allen Artworks did some beautiful drawing over there of the car for you that we have here in the studio. And yeah, popped up on the video screen
Yeah, it's
there
a nice
as well.
painting.
Matter of fact, there's a look at Mark. So we appreciate that artistic view of you and your race car. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, he does a really good job. He's done some stuff for me over the past few years, and really awesome stuff. Kind of a unique, not a lot of content like that for racing stuff. So it's awesome to get something special like that.
Really is.
Safely inside of the top 10 winningest all-time in USAC and sprint cars. Congratulations on that as you chase your 4th championship. We wish you the best of luck. Can't thank you enough for coming in here and spending some time with us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad Rico wasn't here to dig up any scary stories.
Fair enough. Thank you, Brady.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brady Bacon, the Macho Man. You're watching The Skinny. Thanks for being with us here on The Skinny. This episode has been brought to you by Toyota, Rhino Classifieds, Dream Giveaway, and General Tire. For the latest in sunglasses, optical frames, accessories, and apparel, be sure to check out fatheads.com. That's Fatheads with a Z. Production facilities provided by Fatheads Eyewear Studios. All rights reserved.